My girlfriend said, "I'm telling everyone you're abusive, so they'll take my side in the breakup." We hadn't broken up. I said, "That's defamation." Then I installed security cameras throughout my house, recorded everything, and when she made her claims, I released the evidence. When her own friends apologized to me, I, 29 male, own a small electrical contracting business. I employ 6 guys. I drive a truck that's paid off. I have a house with a mortgage that I'm 3 years into. I'm not rich. I'm not some legal genius. I'm a normal dude who goes to work at 6 a.m. and falls asleep watching YouTube at 10 p.m. I'm telling you this because what happened to me could happen to literally any guy, and it almost destroyed everything I built. My girlfriend and I had been together for about 2 years. She moved into my house about 8 months in. Her lease was ending. Things were going well. It made sense. She didn't pay rent, which was my choice. I told her to save her money, build her savings, and she could cover groceries and utilities. Looking back, yeah, I set myself up, but I was in love, and I thought we were building something. Things started getting rocky around month 14. She wanted to go out more than I could afford. She started making comments about how her coworker's boyfriend took her to this restaurant, bought her that bag, planned this trip. The comparison stuff. I told her flat out, "I'm not those guys. I have a business to run and a mortgage to pay." She'd pout for a day, and then we'd move on. Classic cycle. Around month 18, the fights got worse. She started picking fights over nothing. I loaded the dishwasher wrong. I didn't text her back fast enough during a work day where I was literally on a ladder wiring a panel. I forgot to get the specific brand of oat milk she likes. Just constant friction. I suggested couples counseling. She said, "We don't need a stranger telling us how to talk to each other." All right. Then came the night that changed everything. About 3 months ago, we had an argument about me not wanting to go to her friend's birthday dinner on a Tuesday night when I had a 5:30 a.m. job the next morning. Normal disagreement. Annoying but normal. She went to the dinner. Fine. She came home around midnight. I was half asleep. She sat on the edge of the bed and said, completely calm, not yelling, not emotional, just matter of fact, "I've been thinking, if we ever break up, I'm going to tell everyone you were abusive. My friends, your clients. That way nobody takes your side." I sat up so fast I almost pulled something. "What did you just say?" "It's just smart. Women are always believed. I'd be stupid not to use that. It's nothing personal. We're not even breaking up. Why would you say that? I'm just being honest. I'd rather you know up front, so you think twice before you ever try to leave me." I stared at her for a solid 10 seconds. She rolled over and went to sleep like she just told me what she wanted for dinner. I didn't sleep that night. Not 1 minute. I lay there running through every scenario. If she did this, if she actually told people I was abusive, who would believe me? In my line of work, reputation is everything. My clients are homeowners, property managers, small businesses. One accusation and half my contracts disappear. It wouldn't matter if it was true. The accusation alone would be enough. By 5 a.m., I had a plan. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Not my buddy who does wills and closings, an actual litigation attorney who handles defamation cases. Consultation cost me $300 for an hour, worth every single penny. I told him exactly what she said. He told me 3 things. 1, verbal threats are hard to prove. 2, if she follows through, it's potentially defamation per se if she accuses me of a crime I didn't commit. 3, document everything starting now. That same week, I bought a home security camera system. For cameras, 1 in the living room, 1 in the kitchen, 1 covering the front door, and 1 in the hallway. All visible, all in common areas, nothing in the bedroom or bathroom. I also downloaded a call recording app for my phone. My state is one-party consent, so I only need my own permission to record. My lawyer confirmed this twice. When she asked about the cameras, I said package thieves have been hitting the neighborhood. Plus, it's good for the business insurance. She barely blinked. Didn't even question the indoor cameras. She was too busy scrolling through shopping sites on her phone to care. For the next 6 weeks, I recorded everything. Every conversation, every argument, every calm evening watching TV. I got footage of us cooking dinner together, laughing at a movie, her asking me to rub her shoulders. Normal couple stuff. But more importantly, I got footage of her starting arguments over nothing screaming at me while I sat there calmly on the couch. And this is the big one, throwing a coffee mug at my head during an argument about me working on a Saturday. The mug hit the wall behind me. She didn't apologize. She said, maybe if you ducked faster, you wouldn't have to worry about it. All on camera. Crystal clear audio. I also kept a dated log. Every argument, what caused it, what was said, her exact words when she could remember them. I had text messages where she threatened me. One text said, keep it up and I'll make sure your mother thinks you hit me. Another said, my friends already think you're controlling. It wouldn't take much. I screenshot everything and emailed it to myself and my lawyer. 6 weeks of documentation. And I sat back and waited. I didn't have to wait long. 3 weeks ago, she went out with her friends on a Friday night. She came home at 2 a.m., which, whatever, I don't control her schedule, and was drunk enough that she forgot the cameras existed. She called her best friend on speaker while sitting on the kitchen counter. I was asleep upstairs. The kitchen camera caught the whole thing. She told her friend that she was done with me, that I was boring and cheap, and that her exit strategy was ready. She said, and this is on video, I already told my mom he grabbed me last month. Once I tell our friend group, he's done. Nobody's going to side with the boring electrician over a crying woman. I'll get to stay in the house for at least a few months while he figures out what to do. She wanted my house, not through any legal means, just through social pressure. Make me look like a monster, make me too ashamed to kick her out, squat in my home while I eat the damage. I downloaded that video 3 times, backed it up on a hard drive, in my email, and on my lawyer's secure server. Then I went to sleep, peacefully for the first time in weeks. More in the update. I know this is long, but it gets way worse before it gets better. Update 1, 8 days later. Okay, so a lot of you told me to move fast. I did. Here's what happened. The Monday, after I got that kitchen video, I met with my lawyer in person. He reviewed everything. The cameras, the texts, the kitchen recording, my written log. He said I had one of the best documented cases he'd seen in his career and that I should proceed with ending the relationship, but do it carefully. His advice, don't kick her out without proper notice, because even though she's not on a lease and doesn't pay rent, in my state, she's considered a resident after 30 days, and I'd have to formally evict her. Yeah, let that sink in. She could accuse me of abuse, and I'd still legally have to give her 30 days notice. The system is fantastic. So I serve her a formal 30-day notice to vacate. Not verbally, in writing, delivered by my lawyer. She came home from work on Tuesday to find the letter on the kitchen counter. She lost it. You're evicting me? Are you serious right now? After everything I've done for this relationship. I was standing in the living room, camera rolling. I kept my voice dead even. I think we both know this isn't working. I've given you 30 days to find a new place. I think that's fair. Fair? I'm moving here for you. I gave up my apartment for you. And now you're throwing me out like garbage. You didn't give up your apartment for me. Your lease ended and you chose not to renew. You don't pay rent here. Oh, so now you're throwing money in my face. I'm stating a fact. She went to the bedroom and slammed the door so hard the hallway camera rattled. For the next 3 hours, she called everyone she knew. I could hear her through the door. The narrative had begun. By Wednesday morning, my phone started blowing up. Her best friend texted me. I can't believe you'd put your hands on someone who loved you. You're disgusting. Her sister called and left a voicemail calling me a woman beater. Her mom, this woman who I'd sat across from at Thanksgiving dinner, who I'd fixed the wiring in her garage for free, sent me a text that said, real men don't hit women. Don't ever contact this family again. I didn't respond to any of them. My lawyer said to let the fire burn for a few days. Let her commit fully to the lie. Let as many people as possible hear her version. Because the deeper she dug, the worse it would be when the truth came out. And she dug deep. By Friday, she had apparently told her entire office. One of my clients, a property manager who uses my company for all their electrical work, called me and said he'd heard some concerning things and wanted to pause our contract until things were sorted out. That's 4 units I maintain quarterly. About $6,000 a year in reliable income. Gone. Just like that. Based on a lie. I almost broke right there. Not emotionally, financially. When you run a small business, losing one reliable contract hits different than it does when you're pulling a salary. I sat in my truck after that phone call and just gripped the steering wheel for 5 minutes. Then I called my lawyer and said, "How soon can we move?" He said, "Let's give it the weekend. If she's going to hang herself, give her enough rope." Saturday, she moved the first round of her stuff out, made a big show of it, had her sister and her best friend come help her, which really just meant they came to stare at me like I was a criminal in my own home. Her sister bumped my shoulder walking past me in the hallway and said, "Must feel real tough scaring a woman out of her home." I said nothing. Camera caught the whole interaction, including the shoulder bump. Then, and this is the part that almost pushed me over the edge, I got a knock on my door Sunday evening. 2 cops. Someone had called in a wellness check. They said they'd received a report that a woman at this address was in danger. They were professional, but I could see it. The way they looked at me, the way they positioned themselves, the way one of them kept his hand near his belt. I was guilty until proven innocent. That's just how it works. I cooperated fully. Showed them around the house. She wasn't there. She was staying with her friend. I told them we'd broken up, and she was in the process of moving out. They left after 20 minutes, but told me someone might follow up. Great. I called my lawyer Sunday night and said, "I'm done waiting." He said Monday morning. We go nuclear. Monday morning, my lawyer sent a formal cease and desist letter to my ex, her mother, her sister, and her best friend. The letter stated that I had extensive video and audio documentation proving that no abuse occurred, that my ex had been recorded on video and in text messages planning a false abuse accusation as a manipulation strategy, and that any continued defamatory statements would result in a civil lawsuit seeking damages for lost business income, emotional distress, and attorney fees. Attached to each letter was a USB drive containing 3 things: the kitchen video of her planning the false accusations, a compilation of security camera footage showing her throwing objects and screaming while I remained calm, and screenshots of her text messages threatening to lie about abuse. The cease and desist went out at 9 a.m. Monday. By noon, my phone was a different kind of busy. Her best friend texted me at 12:34 p.m. "I just watched the video. I am so sorry. I don't know what to say." Her sister called at 1:15 p.m. Didn't leave a voicemail, but texted 20 minutes later, "I was wrong. I shouldn't have said what I said. I'm sorry." Her mom? Nothing. Complete radio silence from that woman. Not an apology, not an acknowledgement. Nothing. She went from real men don't hit women to absolute ghost mode in the space of 4 hours. Some people can't admit they were wrong, even when the evidence is literally on a USB drive in their hands. And my ex? She called me 18 times between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. I let every single one go to voicemail. The messages range from crying, "How could you record me? That's such a violation of my privacy," to rage, "You're going to regret this. You have no idea who you're dealing with," to what I can only describe as negotiation. "If you pull the lawsuit thread, I'll tell everyone I exaggerated. We can both just move on." That last one, my lawyer said that voicemail alone was practically an admission of guilt. We saved it. But the property manager, the client I lost, that one wasn't fixed yet. And honestly, that's what hurt the most. Update 2, 12 days later. Final update. I promise this one has a resolution. So after the cease and desist went out, things moved fast. Some good, some ugly, and one thing I genuinely didn't expect. First, the ugly. My ex did not go quietly. The day after she got the letter, she showed up at my house during her remaining time in the 30-day notice period and brought her mom. Apparently, they decided that the best response to being caught lying was to double down. Her mom marched up to me while I was in the garage working on an estimate and said, "Those cameras are an invasion of privacy, and we're going to have them ruled inadmissible." Inadmissible in what? In court. What court? Who's suing who? She didn't have an answer. She'd obviously been watching legal dramas and thought inadmissible was a magic word that makes evidence disappear. My lawyer later confirmed that visible cameras in common areas of my own home, in a one-party consent state, are completely legal. Her mom's entire legal strategy was based on a plot from a TV show. My ex then tried a different angle. She filed a police report. She walked into the station and told them I had been emotionally and verbally abusive throughout our relationship. This was 3 days after the cease and desist. My lawyer had anticipated this. He'd actually predicted it almost word for word. Here's where the documentation saved my life. The detective assigned to look into it called me in for a conversation. Not an interrogation, a conversation. I came in with my lawyer and a folder. My lawyer presented the security footage, the text messages, the kitchen video, the cease and desist timeline showing that her report came suspiciously right after she received legal threats, and the voicemail where she offered to tell everyone she exaggerated in exchange for dropping the lawsuit threat. The detective watched the kitchen video twice. He watched the mug-throwing footage. He read the texts. He looked at my ex's police report, then looked at me, then looked at my lawyer and said, "I've seen enough." He told us that based on the evidence, there was no basis to pursue anything against me. He also said, and my lawyer told me this is rare but not unheard of, that he would be noting in his file that the report appeared to be retaliatory and potentially fraudulent. He said if she filed again without new evidence, it could result in charges against her for filing a false report. She didn't file again, but she wasn't done. During her last 2 weeks in the house, she tried to make my life as miserable as possible. She accidentally left the bathtub running one night and flooded the bathroom floor. Camera in the hallway caught her walking away from the bathroom with the door open and the water running. She claimed it was an accident. It soaked through to the ceiling of my first-floor office and damaged some drywall. About $800 in repairs. My lawyer added it to the file. She cranked the thermostat to 85 degrees every time she left the house. My electric bill for that month was $340 when it's usually around $140. Petty, but documented. She also ate everything in my fridge and freezer in the span of about a week. Like, I came home from work one day, and she was eating the steaks I'd bought for a barbecue I was planning with my crew. Just sitting on the couch, eating a ribeye with a fork and knife, watching reality TV. I didn't say a word. What am I going to do? Call the cops over a steak? I just went to the kitchen, opened the empty freezer, and let the camera see it. Documentation over dignity. The day she finally moved out, date 28 of 30, she took the shower curtain, all the light bulb from the guest bedroom, the batteries out of every remote in the house, and my good cast iron skillet. I noticed the skillet immediately. Everything else I found over the next few days like little booby traps of pettiness. Why won't the guest room light turn on? Oh, well, she took the bulbs. I didn't pursue the skillet. It was a $45 lodge. Not worth the legal fees. Consider it the price of freedom. Now the good stuff. The property manager. The one who paused my contract. My lawyer sent him a professional letter. Not threatening, just informative. Explaining that the allegations were documented as false, that a police investigation had found no basis for any claims, and that I had extensive evidence supporting my position. He attached a summary, not the full footage, because my lawyer said showing the property manager my ex's private moments would be unnecessary and could actually hurt my credibility. The property manager called me 2 days later. He said he'd reviewed the letter, spoken with the detective, who confirmed the case was closed with a note about the report being retaliatory, and wanted to reinstate the contract. He also said, and this part meant more to me than the money, I should have called you before making any decisions. I'm sorry about that. I got the contract back. Full terms. He even threw in an extra unit he'd been using a different electrician for. I didn't ask for it. He just said, consider it my apology. My crew, all 6 of those guys knew something was wrong because I'd been distracted and quiet for weeks. I told them after it was all resolved. Not the details, just the broad strokes. One of them, my most senior guy who's been with me since I started the company, shook my hand and said, "Boss, for what it's worth, not a single one of us believed it for a second." I had to walk into my office and close the door after that one. Legal outcome. My lawyer and I discussed an actual defamation lawsuit. Here's the reality that nobody talks about online. Defamation cases are expensive, slow, and emotionally exhausting. Even with my level of documentation, my lawyer estimated it would cost me $15,000 to $25,000 in legal fees, take 12 to 18 months, and the most I could realistically recover, given that she doesn't own property or have significant assets, would be maybe $10,000 to $15,000. I'd spend more than I get back. And I'd have to relive this entire thing in depositions and court appearances for over a year. I decided not to sue. I know a lot of you are going to be mad about that. Trust me, I was too. But my lawyer laid it out plainly. You won. Your reputation is intact. Your business is restored, and she's been exposed. A lawsuit at this point is about punishment, not recovery. And the legal system isn't great at punishment in civil cases unless the other person has money. He was right. The best revenge was already happening. She did it to herself. What she lost, without me lifting a finger beyond defending myself. Her friend group imploded. Her best friend stopped talking to her after watching the video. 2 other friends in their circle reached out to me separately to apologize and said they'd reevaluated the friendship. Her sister, who had bumped my shoulder and called me a woman beater in my own hallway, told her she needed serious help and created distance. The only person still fully in her corner was her mom, which tracks. She also lost her credibility at work. I didn't do anything there. I didn't contact her employer or send anyone anything. But apparently one of her coworkers was friends with someone in our mutual social circle, and the story traveled. She didn't get fired. This isn't a fairy tale, but according to the maid of honor, yeah, I know, weird source, but she reached out, people at her office started treating her differently. Not overtly hostile, just distant. Which, if you've ever experienced that quiet social shift where people are polite but clearly don't trust you anymore, you know that's its own kind of consequence. The police report she filed is now part of a record, not a criminal record. She wasn't charged, but the detective's notation that it appeared retaliatory is in the system. My lawyer said that if she ever tries this with someone else, that notation could be pulled up. It's not justice in the dramatic sense, but it's a paper trail. And paper trails matter. Total cost of this ordeal, about $4,200 in legal fees, $800 in water damage repairs, $340 electric bill, $45 skillet, and roughly 6 weeks of the worst stress of my life. Call it $5,400 and a whole lot of sleepless nights. What I got in return, my house, my business, my reputation, and the knowledge that I handled the worst situation of my life without losing my temper, without retaliating in anger, and without becoming the thing she tried to paint me as. I'm not going to lie to y'all. There are nights I still get this sick feeling in my stomach. Not about her specifically, but about how close I came. If she hadn't told me her plan that night in bed, if she'd just done it without the warning, I wouldn't have had cameras. I wouldn't have had documentation. And it would have been my word against hers. You and I both know how that usually goes for guys. The cameras are still up. They're staying up. Every relationship from here on out, I'm going to be a little more guarded than I should have to be. And that makes me sad if I think about it too long. So I try not to. Last thing. A couple weeks ago, I was doing a job at a client's house, rewiring their basement. And the homeowner, this older lady, brought me iced tea and said, "My daughter told me what happened to you. I just want you to know, some of us can tell the difference between a good man and a guilty one." I just said thank you and went back to work because if I'd said anything else, I probably would have lost it right there in her basement. That's the whole story, Reddit. I'm not a hero. I'm just a guy who got lucky enough to get a warning, smart enough to take it seriously, and stubborn enough to protect what's mine. If you're in a situation where someone is threatening to weaponize false accusations against you, man or woman, doesn't matter, document everything. Cameras, texts, call recordings if your state allows it, a written log with dates. Don't confront, don't threaten back, don't play their game. Just quietly build your case and let their own words destroy them. And get a lawyer, a real one, not your cousin who watches court shows. That's it from me. Thanks for listening.